Hello there, welcome to the Perfume Experience, and let's begin with a few questions. First one, you get value out of Perfume Experience by 1. Getting good alternatives of popular fragrances, 2. Getting good fragrance related reviews, number 3. I watch fragrances reviews because I just like to watch them, number 4. I don't know. Well, answer all of these in the poll that I put up in the community because I kind of want to figure out what do you actually gain out of my videos, right? But nonetheless, we're going to look at a beautiful, good alternative of a very popular summer everyday office, beautiful office kind of a fragrance that you can try. I'm talking about the beautiful Louis Vuitton's Imagination Alternate from the house of Khadlaj, and this is called Karus Blu Spice. So we're going to talk about this particular fragrance today, find out what makes this a very good alternative to the Blue Imagination, or are there anything else, or is there any other fragrance in the market that you should kind of consider? Let's talk all about it today on this particular video. You're watching the Perfume Experience. My name is Rodney. Let's get going right after this intro. All right, so welcome back. So the first things first, this is my mother's house and I'm just trying out a setup here. So it's got this contradictory walls, colors, and I just thought I should experiment. But nonetheless, let's get going about the fragrance. Like I said, we're going to talk about from the house of Khadlaj, and we're going to talk about Karus Blu Spice, right? Now, we did review their Shiaka Blue and Shiaka Silver, which are very good alternatives as well. And so this is two of a very popular fragrance from the house of Louis Vuitton's Imagination. Okay, so now let's talk about the fragrance itself. For the first, let's talk about the box. The packaging is actually very, very good. It's a hard box that you kind of get, very good packaging. You would kind of have this kind of magnetic flap that sits very, very nicely. And when you open it up like this, you kind of get introduced to the bottle, which looks like this very nice bottle and very sturdy, very well built. The bottle kind of looks like this. It's this plasticky thing which is actually glass here, but it's got this kind of a grainy finish on the entire bottle. It's got Khadlaj written this side, Khadlaj written here, and it's got some information at the back which is very, very difficult to read because it's almost the same color as of the body, right? Now it kind of looks like actually like aluminium thing, but it's actually plastic, but it's got a little bit of a weight to it. But on the whole, the bottle actually looks very, very good, right? Now I think this is in the ballpark figure about for 2,000 rupees roughly. I think I don't recollect exactly how much we paid for it. I think approximately that much. But let's do a quick spray of this particular fragrance and let's talk about the scent profile, right? Okay, sprayer is pretty good, it's pretty decent, and you kind of immediately recognize the fragrance. It's one of those lovely citrus fragrances that's got a bit of sweetness to it. You kind of immediately recognize a very nice distinct citrusy sweetness with a soapy kind of a texture, a bit of sweetness, and overall you also kind of smell something earthy, something woody kind of a vibe, but mostly a green type of a vibe, which is very, very nice. Smells absolutely pleasant, refreshing, and energetic, and at the same time detergenty, soapy type, right? So what has Khadlaj got in terms of its note, right? The first thing what they've done is, if you look at the notes of Khadlaj Blue Karus, or rather Blue Spice, it talks about bergamot and along with tea note. Okay, now the tea note is right here at the very top is what they're going for, but you can kind of smell that, and there is a bit of sweetness that comes from the heart notes where there is cinnamon. Now along with the cinnamon, they've also used a little more spicier element of ginger along with neroli, and in the dry down they have used gaiac wood and amber wood, but along with that Middle Eastern touch, they have got an incense, right? So what essentially this becomes is a citrusy kind of a fragrance with a bit of sweetness, a bit of good spicy element that comes from that nice ginger, a little bit of a bitter element coming from that neroli, and a nice woody dry down, but the woody dry down has got a bit of incense as such. But now the incense is not something that's very prominent or very observable. It is lightly there, a little bit of a distinct element, so to say, but on the whole it's a very, very nice smelling fragrance. Smells very refreshingly good for summers. For office wears, you want a nice fragrance that's got that nice citrusy vibe to it, and then this is perfect. They're rightly sitting there. It's doing a very, very good job, right? Now, like I said, this is an alternate of the popular Louis Vuitton Imagination. And if you looked in the past in the fragrances that we have reviewed, you would have noticed that I think Soaked Sun by Grandeur Elite was one of those fragrances that was going for the same alternate. You do have other alts as well, like Aster, I think so. That's also another alt of Imagination they have. But you also have Paris, Karus, Nostag, Un also, which is I think three, sorry, Troy, which is also an alt of the Imagination. But if you look at all of these, all of them, or rather, especially if you look at Grandeur Elite, Soap Sun, it had a performance issue. Okay. Now, Troy also had a good signature smell. It had a good scent profile, but it also had a performance issue. Now that's where Khadlaj has kind of done something exquisitely well. It has gone all out on performance. Okay. Now before we jump into knowing the exact amount of performance, let's quickly talk about how it's slightly different from the original Louis Vuitton Imagination. Now I don't really have the OG as such, so I can't do a side-by-side comparison. But from a note profile, if you look at it, one element of change that's happened is in the Louis Vuitton Imagination, you have citron, you have bergamot, you have orange, and then you have tea in the heart note along with a little bit of a black tea. In the OG, you also have galbanum as well, but aside to that, there is nothing else. What's basically Khadlaj has done is replace the top three orange notes to just making it bergamot and tea, which is the only difference. And of course, they added Middle Eastern touch of incense, but incense, I would say, is very mildly there, and it makes a good combination to this particular fragrance because it kind of smells very, very nice because of that whole woody, incensey, citrusy, sweet, spicy nature, because neroli and the ginger really brings up that nice spice element and gives you that nice zesty freshness that you kind of want. So it smells very, very nice. Okay. Now because of ginger, gaiac wood, ambroxan or amberwood, don't think about it as Bulgari tiger type of a fragrance. It's not. Tiger is very dominant, or you can say high on ginger, high on citrus and that kind of thing. So it becomes more of a very woody, gingery kind of a fragrance, whereas this is a very good balance between citrus, woody elements and slight amount of freshness, zesty freshness coming from ginger, right? Now, on the whole, I think they've done a fab job. I mean, like I said, let's get back to the performance, where that's where they've kind of killed this particular fragrance, okay? Now, when you wear it, you get really good projection. If you're able to do 10 to 12 sprays and above, you will get more than 3 feet of projection, which will last to you about 1.5 hours to 2 hours time. So it kind of projects very well for a long time. But even better is if you apply it on apparels, it does for a whole day. Okay, when I say whole day, you will be able to sniff it on your apparel for even times like 10 to 12 hours time. In fact, on the first couple of times when I wore it on my apparel, I could smell it on my t-shirt. Even the next day when I took it out to put it to wash, I could smell the fragrance on it very clearly, very nicely. Now you can wear it for outdoor use as well. You can wear it when you're going out and it will still smell good. But I would still say this should be a very good office wear kind of a fragrance that you should consider, especially if you like a nice, refreshingly good fragrance that will give you a good lasting performance and of course complement, because it is sweet in its nature. This is not an overly sweet fragrance like 9 p.m. and all as such, but it is got a little bit of a sweetness because of cinnamon, and the tea note gives that green herbaceous vibe to it, a nice tartness. On the whole, it's a very good alternate to consider. Now, I am a sucker for Louis Vuitton's Imagination. I do have, I think, 3 to 4 alternates, with me. Like for example, I have Mehdi Hasan's, Indian perfumery alternate as well, and I have recently got Ruhaniyat's Zeus, which is also an alternate of Imagination. Plus, I do have Al Maham's Imagination and of course Centredelic as well. Okay. Now, I had already told in the very beginning that I do not like or do not prefer Centredelic JTE compared to others. Imagination of Al Maham is also pretty good, but I kind of, I've always liked Mehdi Hasan's Imagination to be very good, and now Ruhaniyat is also very, very good. Now, the main difference when I think about these two, okay, if I compare, especially take these two versus Khadlaj, is what I can say is when you go down to micro level and trying to nitpick some things, you can think that here there's a bit of that alcohol blast that you kind of get right at the opening when you sniff or make a comparison between the two, whereas in Ruhaniyat I did not get that, and I don't experience so much so in Mehdi Hasan's as well. But the problem with both of them is that I faced is the lasting. Okay, now both Ruhaniyat, Zias and Mehdi Hasan's will hardly do about 5-6 hours on skin, whereas this pushes itself for about at least an hour more on skin. You can get about close to 6 to 7 hours on skin, whereas these two will do about 5 hours roughly on skin and a little more than apparel. But on apparel, this one kills by doing almost 1.5x of these two, right? So you kind of get at least you will get 9 to 10 hours on apparel easily than than those, right? So that way, if you have it on your apparel, you will be able to smell it even much later. But I will say, considering different environment conditions, different weather conditions, and of course skin chemistry, you should easily get about 9 hours to 10 hours, which I think is very good at this price point. Now, so Khadlaj Karus Blu Spice is approximately around 3,000 rupees is what I would say in terms of getting it from us, but online you will see this going up to 4,200 rupees as well. Yes, so for 3,000 rupees it's a good alternate of Louis Vuitton's Imagination. If we do have decants of all of these fragrances, so you can try it if you want to experience it, compared to others. Now, if you want me to do a head-on comparison between Nostag series, I could do so, but I would say this one edges out in its loudness. Even otherwise, it's a blind buy that you can do when it comes to looking at an alternate of Louis Vuitton's Imagination. Right? So yes, if you're looking for an alternate of Louis Vuitton's Imagination, then definitely consider getting Blu Spice Khadlaj, because this is definitely one of those fragrances that is making a good impact when it comes to performance. Now, when you think about Shiaka Blue and Shiaka Silver, both are woody fragrances, and like I said, both are good performers though, but not as good as this. This one definitely edges out in performance when compared to those two as well, right? So that's what I thought about Karus Blu Spice. They do have one more fragrance in this with a gold color or a, golden kind of writing. We can consider getting that as well as an option to check and see if you kind of want me to review that. But otherwise, if you're looking for a nice citrusy, beautiful fragrance like Louis Vuitton Imagination, especially Imagination, when it costs you 28,000 rupees for a full 100 ml, this comes at almost 5% of that price. I mean, you think about it, like literally 10% of the price, sorry. So about that, you kind of get a good fragrance to consider. So yes, you can definitely check this out, right? So if you kind of like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe and share, and I will see you on another one. And please note, Hindi videos are now also going to be offered on the Hindi channel. It's going to be there, it's going to be on the main channel. After a few days, we'll split them out, right? Till then, another time, take care, bye now.